Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lollipop and today we are taking a look at another big bicycle brand besides Trek, and that is Giant. I've gotten a lot of comments asking me to make videos on different Giant bikes, and I'm going to start it off with the Fathom lineup, and then my next video will be on the Talon series. This lineup only has two bikes in it, and those are the Fathom 1 and the Fathom 2. They both come in 27.5 and 29-inch wheel sizes, but those bikes actually have some more differences than just the wheel sizes themselves, so I will cover all four bikes in this video, which means two for each wheel size. I'm going to be comparing all the different parts that these bikes come with in detail, and I'll add tables at the end of this video showing you all the changes between the 29 and 27.5 wheel size versions of the bikes in one place, as well as the differences between the Fathom 1 and 2, so you get a comprehensive comparison of this lineup. And while I show those tables at the end, I will also talk generally about which bike would fit your riding style. Additionally, if you are interested in any bicycles offered by Trek, I have made several videos on those bikes, including ones on the Roscoe and X-Caliber lineups, which should be comparable to this Giant Fathom lineup. But before we get into it, I'm going to give a quick background on the Fathom line so I can explain what they are intended for. So Giant has done something pretty interesting with these bikes, and that is using the same bike for two different purposes. The Fathom 29 not only has 29-inch wheels, but it also has other parts on it that allow it to be more focused on cross-country riding, while the regular Fathom 27.5 has different parts which make it more focused on single tracks and having a fun time on your bike, going over a lot of rough and technical terrain. Another thing to note is that while both the 29 and 27.5 bikes come in sizes small, medium, large, and extra large, only the 27.5 Fathom comes in a size extra small. However, what's nice is that these bikes cost the same regardless of the wheel size and other included components. And if you have been watching my previous videos on Trek bikes, you can think of the Fathom 29 as an X-Caliber competitor, and you can think of the Fathom 27.5 as a Roscoe competitor. Because of this, I'm actually going to start off this comparison by talking about the similarities and the differences between the 29 and 27.5-inch wheel size versions of both bikes. First of all, let's talk about the frames. The 29-inch frame has geometry more suited for an XC bike as expected, with things like a steeper head angle, while the 27.5 bike is more oriented towards better turning and general maneuverability, and leans slightly more toward that of a downhill bike. Besides that, let's talk about the other component differences that make the 29-inch Fathom differ from the 27.5 version. I'm going to kick it off with the Fathom 2, talking about the similarities first. Both wheel sizes for the Fathom 2 are priced at the same $1,200, and they come with the exact same drivetrain, which is the SRAM SX Eagle 1x12. They also come with the same seat, stem, handlebars, and hubs. The main differences, unsurprisingly, begin in the wheels. The regular Fathom uses 27.5-inch Giant AM rims, which are 30mm wide, while the Fathom 29 uses 29-inch Giant XCT rims that are 25mm wide for lighter weight. Both of these are tubeless ready. The 27.5 Fathom also uses Maxxis Ardent Race 27.5 by 2.6-inch wide tires for that added traction on the trail, while the Fathom 29 goes to a Maxxis Forecaster 2 in the front and a Maxxis Recon Race in the rear, both of which are 29 by 2.35 inches wide for a faster setup that still has good traction. Both bikes also use the same fork, but the regular Fathom has 120mm of travel to better absorb bumps on the trail, while the 29-inch version has 100mm of travel, which is typical for an XC-oriented bike as it is lighter and you don't need as much travel when you are cross-country riding. And the last change is to the seat post, which is a giant contact dropper post in the regular Fathom, so you can shift your weight better on the bike for added maneuverability in really bumpy areas. The Fathom 229 instead has a fixed post, which is also lighter. Now let's move on to the Fathom 1, which is $1,500. The differences between the wheels on these bikes for the 29 and 27.5 wheel sizes are the same exact differences you already saw in the Fathom 2, So the Giant AM rims and Ardent race tires in the regular Fathom have been changed to the Giant XCT and Maxxis Forecaster and Recon race tires in the 29 Fathom 1. The only other change here is to the suspension fork, which just uses 120mm of travel in the Fathom 1 27.5 and 100mm of travel in the Fathom 1 29. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'm going to compare the 27.5 versions of both the Fathom 1 and the Fathom 2 with each other, starting with the similarities. Both bikes use the same frame, stem, handlebars, seat post, wheel sets, which include the rims, hubs, and tires, and some parts of the drivetrain like the bottom bracket, chain, and the cassette. I won't go over all of these since both Fathom models come with the same ones. Now onto the differences. I covered the price already, but to reiterate, the Fathom 2 costs $1,200, while the Fathom 1 is priced at $1,500. So for $300 more, the things that change are the suspension fork, the seat, the brakes, and parts of the drivetrain including the rear derailleur and the cassette. Starting with the suspension fork. Both bikes use tapered air forks with 120mm of travel, but the 27.5 Fathom 2 uses an SR Suntour Radon XC Low R, which has a 15 by 110mm quick release axle and 32mm stanchions for good dampening on the trail. However, Giant has decided to release late 2020 models of this bike with a new fork, which is the Giant Crest 34, which has 34mm stanchions for even better dampening and stability on the trail. The Fathom 1 goes to the RockShox Recon RL, which uses a 15 by 110 Maxxis light axle, which should be stiffer for more front-end stability. This fork also has motion control dampening, which allows for a more efficient suspension fork in general, but it does use smaller 32mm stanchions. The seat is also changed from the Giant Custom to the Giant Contact, which is just a bit lighter and more sporty. The brakes are upgraded from the entry-level Tektro 275 hydraulic disc brakes to the Shimano MT400 hydraulic disc brakes, which are also entry-level hydraulic brakes, but they're just from Shimano instead of Tektro. The rear derailleur is upgraded from the SRAM SX Eagle to the SRAM NX Eagle, which is a step above the SX, and it is lighter in weight. These derailleurs should perform pretty similarly besides that, but the NX should be slightly better in terms of shifting smoothly and quickly. And lastly, we have the crankset. Both bikes use cranks that have 30 teeth, but the Fathom 2 uses a SRAM SX Eagle, while the Fathom 1 upgrades to the Truvativ Descendant 6K Eagle crank, which is lighter and manufactured with more precision to make the ride smoother and more efficient. It also has better fitment and is slightly more durable. Another thing I'll mention is that the Fathom 2 and 1 for the 29-inch wheel sizes have the same differences between the bikes as the 27.5 bikes, except the suspension fork has 100mm of travel, and the seat post is not a dropper post in the Fathom 2 29. And with that, I've covered all the differences between those four bikes. I'm going to show some tables now that simplify what I talked about, but basically the 29er Fathoms are for riders interested in cross-country riding or racing cross-country, since these bikes are designed to be lightweight and efficient while going fast on the trail. The 27.5 Fathoms are for people who are less worried about going fast, but do want to be able to go on rougher terrain with more bumps or on more downhill portions and technical terrain portions, including single tracks. Going from the Fathom 2 to the Fathom 1 will generally just get you lighter parts and more durable parts that will last longer and allow your riding experience to be that much better. But that is all for this video. If you enjoyed or if it helped you out, please leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment below if you noticed any mistakes or have any questions or suggestions. But besides that, I hope you guys liked my first video on a Giant lineup. I hope I can do more of these in the near future as well, but as always, thank you guys so much for watching and keep biking out there.